motivating those around him, and I saw it with my own eyes," said Chester Police Chief Ryan Coffey. A private family funeral was held, followed by a public service at 10 a.m. at Chester High School. Coffey described Brockmeyer as a dedicated, hard-working rookie officer who inspired his colleagues. "James' dedication was evident even before we hired him," Coffey said during the funeral. "James was eager and enthusiastic about the profession, showing a particular interest in drug enforcement activities. But that wasn't all. James inserted himself in nearly every aspect of our department's operations. James didn't seem to believe in the traditional 8-hour shift. The 40-hour work week evidently wasn't the way James was programmed." Coffey added that Brockmeyer couldn't stay away from the police station, even coming in to take care of small tasks on his day off. James as a person was pleasant and fun to be around. That enthusiasm and passion had a way of motivating those around him, and I saw it with my own eyes. I know I speak for my entire staff when I say that James, not just the hard worker, but the young man, will be missed terribly. Then Coffey addressed Brockmeyer's family. "You are and always be a member of the Chester police family," he said. "You will forever be connected to us. On that you have my word." After the service at the school, officers loaded Brockmeyer's casket, draped in an American flag, into a hearse as a bagpiper played. A massive procession followed, winding more than 20 miles through and around Chester. Hundreds of officers from several dozen police agencies attended the service. Most were from the southwestern Illinois region, but there were also some from Chicago area and from beyond Illinois. Also in attendance was Elizabeth Snyder, whose husband, Blake Snyder, a St. Louis police officer, was killed recently in the line of duty. "You are and always will be a member of the Chester police family. You will forever be connected to us. On that you have my word." Chester Police Chief Ryan Coffey to James Brockmeyer's family. Hundreds of American flags lined State and Sennewick streets along the motorcade route to the cemetery. Blue and black ribbons were tied to every available pole and sign. The front of the Randolph County Courthouse was draped with blue and black bunting. Mourning wreaths were affixed to some squad cars and fire trucks. Massive American flags were displayed at least 3 points along the route. The first was hung from a crane above Chester High School. The second was hoisted to the tops of Perryville Fire Department trucks parked at Chester's downtown firehouse. A third waved above Palestine Road near the cemetery entrance, strung between the ladders of Marissa Fire Department trucks. Here and there along the route, families and neighbors gathered with lawn chairs to watch the procession. School was canceled on Thursday in Chester. And just outside town in Palestine Road, a memorial had been erected at the scene of the crash that claimed Brockmeyer's life. The colorful memorial, which contained crosses, balloons, flowers, flags, and a duck decoy and deer antlers, was just steps away from where Brockmeyer's squad car came to rest following the crash. Spray paint from the crash investigation was still clearly visible at the scene, and shattered glass still littered the ditch. At the high school, a statue of the school's mascot, a yellow jacket, wore a blue and black armband and carried a firefighter's helmet. In addition to being a police officer, Brockmeyer was a volunteer firefighter. A Chester squad car, draped in blue and black, was parked outside the school. The driver, who Brockmeyer was chasing, Jason M. Stoker, was arrested in the St. Louis area and remains in custody. Brockmeyer was laid to rest at St. John's Lutheran Cemetery, a little more than a mile south of where the crash occurred. Brockmeyer joined the police department in January. He was a multi-sport athlete who graduated from Chester High School in 2012. Today's show is dedicated to Officer Brockmeyer. It is also dedicated to all the brave men and women who serve as first responders who every day don their uniforms and protect and serve. And is also dedicated to all the brave men and women in our military, to those that have served, who are serving, and will serve. We dedicate this song, Last Call, by Dave Bray. God bless them all.
This is my last song.
Bray, Last Call. And you can get that music by going to davebrayusa.com. Check it out. You're listening to Southern Sense here on Blog Talk Radio, High Plains Media, SHR Media, Kinetic Hi-Fi, the Fix FM out of Charleston, South Carolina. Oh, you know what I'm going to say next. Just go to our website, which is the name of the show. Put a dash in the middle, southern-sense.com. I'm your hostess with the mostest, the radio chick Annie, along with my oh-so-wonderful and special co-host, Curtis C.S. Bennett. Curtis, we've got ourselves a great show, and I see we already have our guest in on the line. Are we ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready to rock and roll, and I'm sure Nathan is too.
All right. Well, let's bring back...
Standing by.
I was just going to introduce you there. Running for governor out of the great state of Florida. Not as great as the state of South Carolina here, but good enough. We call it Southern New York. Nathan D. Wilson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's great to be on your show again. Thank you so much for you both having me on again.
Yeah, and this has been a really interesting election cycle, and I'm wondering what it harbors for when you're going to be standing before the voters saying, vote for me next year. Oh, it's crazy. It is crazy out there, isn't it?
It is, but, I tell you, I've been going all over the state, and it's been absolutely amazing. I was just over in Tallahassee up by Florida State University, and as I'm staying there at one of the hotels, I met these young kids, millennials, and, it was amazing. I'm sitting there talking to them, just listening to their opinions about, what just happened. And one was a Bernie fan, and then he went to Trump. And then the other girl she voted for Hillary. And found out that one was homosexual. She was a lesbian. And I'm like, I don't care what yours. I don't have a right to judge anyone because I don't want to be judged because God says don't judge others. We got to try to bring them into the fold. Well, after I started thinking, well, what do you do? And I shared with them briefly, what I'm getting ready to do and what I'm already starting to go out and talk to people about and what some of my issues are that I see that are critical in our state. Do you know within 15 minutes, both of those individuals said, what can we do to help you get started and get the word out to the rest of our friends? I'm like, where do you live? They said, Sarasota. When do you want to come out? We'll get a bunch of people. She goes, I got 20,000 followers on my Twitter account, 15,000 on my Facebook. And I'm like, wow. I mean, it was just the amount of energy. And this is happening, and we're talking Democrats here. We're not talking Republicans. We're not talking independents. But I'm seeing the same wave when I'm in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, when I'm up in Jacksonville, when I'm over in Tallahassee, over in the Panhandle. It doesn't matter where I'm going. The response is absolutely is incredible because, one, I'm not a politician. I'm real. They hear me speaking the truth. They hear it coming from my heart. I'm not standing there with a script. I'm doing exactly what I know can be done, and I'm not telling you something I can't do.
I mean, you don't have.
And I'm listening.
You don't have a teleprompter. You mean, really? I mean,
well, you know what? I probably couldn't read this thing in the first place. I got to wear those reading glasses. And I don't wear contacts.
Otherwise, your arms are too short.
Exactly. But I'm not like that alligator at the table that eats up the chicken at the end of the time. But it's about keeping things real. But that's the real thing with me. I mean, it's a 1.50 now. I'm at 55 years of age. So, it is what it is.
Well, it's funny because, you're seeing a lot of these kids out there protesting the election of Trump. And when they had the arrest in Portland, 70% of the people they arrested for those protests and vandalizing property and things, 70% of them didn't even vote. And I think that is starting to resonate around the rest of the nation. The kids that are the good kids around here, like the ones you spoke to, are saying, wait a minute, something's wrong. This is not the message we want to produce. We don't go around destroying property. We don't, we put our money where our mouth is. We're going to vote for who we feel is going to be the best person. We don't go just protest for the sake of protesting, for anarchy. We want something to be done, and this country put on the correct path. And I think that's resonating throughout all the voters. After 8 years of this Obama administration, people are waking up and going, maybe there is hope for this nation. Is that what you're seeing?
Absolutely. I completely concur with what you've just said. And I think that we have to look at also these young people that were out protesting. A lot of them were hurt, but we also know a lot of them were being paid through all means. Or, Craigslist was saying, here, come and work $15 an hour. Just go out and protest. So what are the kids going to want to do? They got to pay bills. They got to do whatever it takes. Give me some money? Good, I got a job. But see, that's where it comes back to leadership, like what Trump's putting together, what we're going to put together, and what other states are starting to focus on, because I think it was a strong message that millennials, I've heard a lot of millennials that are very encouraged now that we're on that other side, and they're shifting because they see that Donald Trump is coming out with a plan, but he's listening to people before he makes that decision. And that's what they really want. They want to know, am I going to have a job? Are you going to secure us? How am I going to be able to have my medical taken care of? How is it going to take care of me? And we've got some of them who are on that, I'm entitled. But you know what? Get over the entitlement. Matter of fact, it gets right back to the parent. It's not about the kids being entitlement. It's back to the parent, not being parents, but trying to be friends over these years. And that was a wrong message they sent to their children. Because, my father taught me this way. I was so beaten down by my mom, et cetera. Well, get over it. It made you strong to be able to take it and transfer it to your child to be able to keep them. We don't learn from, it's easy. No, we learn from hard work, pain, and suffering to get the wisdom and knowledge we need to go into that area to work. And I think that was the biggest thing that we did in our society that is going to shift with these millennials. Now they're going to say, we got to go to work. Yes, we got to do it. Now there's something that gives me hope because we're doing something here at home. We're working on the environment. We're protecting it. We're also working on getting these jobs that are going to be pertinent to getting us out there into space exploration again. We're going to be able to be building our own country. Yeah, it's great that we work over in other places, but we have got so many people that we even, the kids are saying, we know so many that are in poverty. We're living like 4 people in a house. I said, we all did that when we got out of high school and went to college. We all worked together, became a team, and we all were successful. So you have to give them that understanding and share with them there is availability for their dreams to be effective. They can win. They will win if they just follow the plan and they start writing it down and make it clear. That's just kind of where I see it.
Well, we've lost... Go ahead, Curtis.
Nathan, there are a couple of mayors in the United States who said they would defy any decisions Trump would make on sanctuary cities. What are your thoughts on that? And if you were Trump, how would you handle that?
Well, very simple. I'd break out the rule of law. I'd put the attorney generals on each and every one of those states on alert by whoever I would appoint as the attorney general and say, here's what we're going to do. If you do not resolve the issue, because there is no sanctuary city. It's an illegal act. Second of all, I will then take the action that's necessary and block funds through the Senate and the House using the judicial rights to be able to pull back funding from your state. Your people aren't going to be very happy in that state when you do that. So what's going to happen is they're going to have to give in because they're not going to be able to go against their voters, their people. They're not going to want that to happen to their state. You got to pull it back. Then what you do is you work with the law enforcement, with the federal law enforcement from ICE and CBP, the rest of Homeland Security, and then you go and assist and help take down the enemy within. It's not about gun control. We don't need that nonsense. We already know what it looks like in Chicago, when Chicago is one of those mayors that we're talking about. You also look at New York, Baggio. This guy needs to get a grip on reality. He's part of the old machine for the Democrats and wants to keep things status quo. And he brings up to his also the comment, well, Rudy Giuliani actually had sanctuary cities too. However, they cleaned up the street, took down the transnational gangs, they took down the activity, the criminal activity, and they went after the mafias that were causing it, which created more people to be in servitude or slavery, however you want to put it, in the sex trade, which also then affects the part in the middle of that sanctuary city to be able to thrive. So if you take and cut the head off the serpent, you work together as a team, you move forward, and you and I, CS, know exactly what that's like because we're former military. We know what needs to be done to get those things accomplished. And then you give that back to the city to be able to get what they need. That's to help their law enforcement, first of all. Law enforcement's got to have the right gear. They've got to have the right protective gear. They've got to have the support of that mayor. So you also have to put pressure from a DOJ status on that mayor and also on the state governor as well, because you've got to hold him accountable because it's his state. That's just my feelings.
Well, I happen to have been a cop under Giuliani, and it was really frustrating for us because we were out there doing everything you said. We were going after the dealers. We're going after the what the heck did they call them? It'll come to me probably about 2:00 in the morning. But we went after specific crimes that we knew were going to clear up the street. But it frustrated us so much that every time we had someone in custody we knew to be illegal, we were forbidden to contact ICE. And that you can't have law and order going back into a city or anywhere else if you don't address all of the crimes. You can't pick and choose, which is what unfortunately Giuliani did, which is now why de Blasio has a full-blown sanctuary city, because he opened the door for it. And it was so frustrating for us.
Right, and that's why I just shifted earlier, too, and I said that's why you have to bring in, at the same time, ICE and CBP. By the way, people get it all mixed up. They think Customs Border Protection is the one to go to apprehend. No, they apprehend and protect the borders. ICE is the one that goes in, and they're the ones that do the removal and the apprehensions with local law enforcement and with FBI. You know that as well since you were NYPD.
Yes.
So we have to go back, and we need to do that again. We need to this time we do it right. And I believe that that's where Donald Trump will be able to take that and put it in that format. I can't talk about what he's going to do. I believe this is what I think he would see. And I would say that, he's got everything in play. He's got ICE has already sponsored him. They endorsed him right off the bat. So did CBP. So we've got to be able to go in, and we've got to go in and remove those. Because we also know that this also eliminates jobs for Americans. And as I talked to those millennials up in Tallahassee, I said, they're like, well, what about the illegals? They need a special place. I said, do you want a job? What do you mean? I said, how about I give them the job before you get it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not right. Well, yeah, it is, okay. Because, see, that's what they've been telling you for the last 8 years. And that's why you have over 52 million illegals in this country. Not 11 million. Because they've been telling you 11 million since 2002 each year is 11 million. Now, you think about that. Does that make any common sense to you when you have all of them pouring into this country?
No,
and
absolutely.
we know that in 2007, I told them, they were nuts. I said, 50,000 came across the border in 2007, and in 2008 we went to 100% increase. They're like, what? I said, now, and you know what's coming now? What's across the border? They're pouring in. That number is small. Now it's increasingly larger. So do you want a job? They're like, no, we got to stop this. I'm like, so that's what I got from the millennium. So I think that can be a big thing we really need to look at, and I think he is looking at it. What do you guys think?
Right. We know he is looking at it. Matter of fact, his campaign had sent me a survey to fill out on what his 100-day priority should be. So it was in there. It was in the survey with all the other things he's been talking about on the campaign trail. So he's still communicating with the people that voted for him, and he's still getting input, like you said, which is great. And he's reaching out across all of America. It doesn't matter who you are, what political party, or what persuasion you are, he's reaching out to everyone. And I think that has got the Democrats so completely frustrated because they've gone into their Trump derangement syndrome, but all of a sudden they're finding out, well, wait a minute, all the things we accused him of during the campaign is proving to be false. And that's a good thing for us.
Absolutely. I think it's just good for the American people as a whole because he is showing truly that he can actually lead. He can lead the people. It's not about what race you are. It doesn't matter what, ethnic group you're from. It doesn't matter what your religion is. The bottom line is we all have a part to play, but those that are illegally here do not have that part to play. And the part that he's going after, I just did the same questionnaire you did. But the point is why he said DOJ or DOL, Department of Labor, I want you to do the visa program. Why? Let's put, for instance, and I will call this one out, and it's called Capital One. 75,000 people that work there are there on visa programs that do not give jobs to university students or anyone else to be a call center, and they're paying these people that came from China, from Indonesia. They're working at Capital One in a call center making $10 to $15 an hour with benefit.
Yeah.
On the visa programs.
Well, I got a caller in on the line. Before I bring this person in, this is what they fail to understand. They keep on saying we have no one for these jobs. The only problem is, yes, we do have people for these jobs. We've got the young college kids, the high school kids that will be happy to go out into the fields to pick the fruit and vegetables or into the orchards. We've got the youth and strength that can turn around and mow the lawns and do the landscaping. We had that before. That's what these kids did before they went on to college or went on to other higher skilled jobs. We have the skilled labor. It's just that you laid them off. You brought all these immigrants in and gave them their jobs. So they're sitting home collecting the welfare, the Social Security, the Medicare, Medicaid, whatever it is. And they say, all right, you're paying me to stay home so you can bring these immigrants in and pay them cheaper wages. And they don't see that. And this is what the left has been doing. They've been pulling the wool over the eyes, and it's about time it comes off and they see what the actual truth is. That's what I'm seeing. Are you seeing differently, Nathan?
No, I agree wholeheartedly with you. And I think that when you talk about the youth and the teenagers and such, I remember when I was a kid growing up, we had Bo Tech in our schools. We got to get Bo Tech back in. Let the kids learn how to do plumbing, carpentry, work on cars, be mechanics. That can lead them into a multi-million-dollar company that they actually get built up from the ground up because they went out and worked hard because they wanted to. They didn't want to go to college. That wasn't their gig, but their gig was to go out and be entrepreneurs. And, I think that that's a big portion of what you said, and we did. Those jobs were taken away. I've been going in the fields when we were kids, with the church even, with the church group. The combines we go through up in Indiana, and we would be out there picking up the ones that didn't get into the truck. We'd pick up out of the field, throw it in another one, and we'd take it to the granary. They'd weigh it out, and we get the money so it helped pay for our mission trips. But we all went out there to work together.
Yes, exactly. Let me bring this caller on. All right, from the Albany area, area code 229, you're on the air live with Southern Sense. I'm your hostess, Annie, the radio chick. Our guest is Nathan D. Wilson, running for governor in Florida, along with my co-host, Curtis. Who am I speaking to?
Hi, you're speaking to Ricky in Albany, Georgia. Thank you for taking my call. How are you?
Hi, Ricky. You have a question?
I do have a question, and it's not going to be of a popular sense, but I'm trying to get some clarity. I understand the crusade of trying to rally America to be optimistic about our president-elect, and I am totally fine with that. But my question is, and I'm actually desperately looking for some honesty here. My question is, in 2008, from the opposing party, was persons willing to be as optimistic as they are when Barack Obama was elected? From what I can tell, the optimism wasn't there. The given the fair chance wasn't there. And I'm fearing the entity of a double standard there. And I was wondering if you can shed some light on that. Thank you.
I'm trying to understand the question, that we weren't optimistic in 2008, or that we were optimistic?
We're not. And we're not as optimistic as it appears to be a crusade at this point for the president-elect Donald Trump to be optimistic and giving him a chance to be the president that we all expect him to be. And I'm wondering, I don't remember seeing such optimism for Barack Obama when he was elected. And I was wondering if you could, like, you or your panel would like to shed some light on my my observation there.
Nathan, you want to try to tackle that? Okay, go ahead,
you.
Curtis.
We have to first understand that when we elect officials, we should be rooting for America, not specific.
Did we lose Curtis?
Was originally based. We did not believe that Barack Obama, at least people like myself, that his philosophy was in line with what the founding fathers had in mind when they formed this country. So that's why we didn't really root for Barack Obama. Does that help you a little bit?
Ricky?
Yes, I somewhat suspect that. But the point of the matter is that America is a diverse country. And to give a person a chance coming in, now if you want to use that argument, then there are a lot of discrepancies or some negative output that the president-elect has made, a lot of derogatory statements toward other candidates, especially in the primaries. Some of which we don't think that was of a conservative nature. Things that you would not dare your kids say to other kids, and so if you're going to use that argument, I think there is a double standard there. Please continue.
I'd like to jump in on this one.
Yeah, go ahead, Nathan.
Not really an argument. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Nathan.
I agree with CS, and I don't really believe that it is really a double standard. And what I do look at, 2004, when Obama came in, everybody in the United States, including my friends who are Republicans and some independents, voted for him because they were optimistic that he was going to be able to pull people together. Instead, he became the great divider. And when we see what has occurred in our nation, which is absolutely appalling to me, because God loves all of us the same, period, in a statement. We don't have any, and we were getting out of that. We were, before he came in, we didn't have the great divide between racism and or whoever you are in your religion. There was not a great divide, and it has increased incredibly out of control. But when you look at where we are optimistically, right now, the United States has proven by the people, indeed, Hamilton put together the electoral. Yes, there was very close in numbers of the people, but the people said enough is enough. We need jobs. We need security. We need everything back in so we can prosper again. That was the truth. Now, when it comes to the primaries, we know what primaries are about. Primaries are always attacking. Unfortunately, that's the way they've been since the very beginning. These guys back in the day of our founding fathers, they shot each other. Are you kidding me? Have you been to D.C. and seen the bloodstains in the Capitol? They fought because of their beliefs and their honor. But we, thank God, we don't use firearms to shoot at each other. We just keep using the words. But when you are trying to defend yourself, because I will tell you about our president-elect, if you'll understand and remember, he didn't attack until he was attacked.
Yeah,
and then he responded in kind.
You said something important there, Nathan, because people do not understand the history of this nation and how these elections we have today with the rhetoric that's being slung at each other, it's child's play compared to the way the elections originally were at the birth of this nation. Even up to pre-World War II, they were violent at times, being tarred and feathered, being chased with pitchforks and firearms. There are times where some of the politicians would get up on their soapbox to start to talk, and the crowd would be so mad and angry that the politician would have to flee for fear of being lynched. So what we have today
and the
is
tomatoes
nothing.
and the onions, all that stuff was real. They did throw them at them. They did throw the stuff at them. It's so true. So I hope that can help you see a little bit more of what CS is bringing. I'm just kind of bringing what he had, but also bringing to the effect of where we are today and what we have to do as a nation to start saying, you know what? We understand when you're going against 15 people, you're in a battle, and you've got to use the art of war. You've got to do whatever it takes to be able to win. And unfortunately, I know what I'm going to be dealing with down here already. It's the same old politicals. It's all of them wanting to be able to take care of their little bank accounts, and they want to keep the status quo where they want to keep it. But you know what? You up in Albany, you need to step up too and say, you know what? I've had enough of this. I'm going out there. I'm going to step into the place. I'm going to be a man that's going to go out and help the people of my community and run for that office. Get out there and do your part too, not just a vote, but go out and you've got a voice. So take that voice and make it apparent to everyone that you're there with them. And you're going to listen, not just have the voice, but to be the voice of listening. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
It does.
Go ahead, Ricky.
I'm sorry. Yes, it does make sense, and I agree with you 100%, especially, if I may be allowed to say so, in my own community. The ball has been dropped for years on end, and I'm a man of 60, and I am under the impression, and I guess this is a question I like to ask, since we are all on the phone together. Do any of you think that the world would have been different, or our nation would have been different, if Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was still alive? That's an interesting question, I think. What do you think?
Wow. That's an interesting question. Having grown up through the civil rights, yeah.
Well, we know he was Republican.
Yes, we do know that. Matter of fact,
we know he stood on his principles.
Matter of fact, one of the civil rights attorneys...
He stood on his biblical principles.
Yep. One of the civil rights attorneys that worked with Reverend Abernathy, Martin Luther King Sr., and Martin Luther King Jr. wrote a book called Daddy, King, and Me, which I highly recommend. It's Judge Murray Silver wrote the book. He is a Republican. He is a conservative. He was from Atlanta, Georgia area. And he tells in the book that the civil rights movement, when they were marching here in the South, Abernathy turned over to Dr. King and said, you know what? I'm wondering when those little, I'm trying to think of exact words, those liberal Northerners are going to show up and march at our sides because I don't see them in the crowd. Meaning he was saying that all the people marching with them were fellow conservatives, fellow Republicans, fellow Christians. That is where the real civil rights movement came from the Republican Party. And I'm sorry, the Democratic Party has tried to hijack that. They've been trying to hijack it since Johnson was forced to sign the legislation. And this is the little dirty truths that are not told at all about the history. Well, I think we lost Ricky. Well, Ricky, I want to thank you for the call. We have so much more to talk about because one of the things that you were stressing on your website and one of your campaign issues is education. We've got to grab the kids when they're young and teach them the responsibility, teach them the classical learning. And this is things that you also talk about.
You know, there's so much when it comes to education. The quality of the education for the safety of the environment as well is so key to put the kids into a global society and a global business from a very early age. How do you start that? Well, why are we teaching children and young adults language and multiple languages when they get into the end of their ninth grade and they start going through high school? Well, they're already out of the years of learning. It's called preschool. That's when we learn languages. That's when we learn mathematics. So those are very key. And the programs that have been in Europe forever, and that's where I learned all this. It works perfect. You've got, why are they successful in Germany? Why are the Netherlands so well at doing their work internationally and be able to have their kids out there learning 2 and 3 languages, and they speak it fluently? And as a matter of fact, each and every one of them, they have to pass English. Can you believe that? They have to pass English. So if we start teaching our own children how to increase their abilities at the early learning stages, and then why aren't we looking at schools in the inner city and saying, oh, gosh, they're so bad? Well, you know what? There's a charter school over here, or there's a school over here. No, you know what? Enough of that. Let's call competition from a public school to private schools and get our schools back up like I believe Donald Trump wants to do. Get them back up on the educational platform, build it up, so we've now got the kids that can actually go to private school. They might not go to the public school instead because they got a better sports program. But they've got the same educational system in place that's going to be able to help them to go up to the next level. Common Core, out of here. We already know that. Thank God for Trump. The other part, too, is getting the parents to understand what's actually going on, how they can educate their kids and help them to get more involved. Do we want to stop all these other issues that we're looking at and with these programs? We don't even have social studies in our classes anymore. These kids need to know at an early age the history of our founding fathers. They need to know the biblical principles that put us in here. We start bringing that back in and bringing our Judeo-Christianity back into the schools and teaching, and not allowing some PC nonsense that says it's okay for the Muslim kid to go pray, but you better not pray in the school or you're going to be evicted. Or you're going to be, you're going out. You're going to be suspended. Now, where did that come from? We've got to set the standards. We've got to put things back in place. We've got to organize. And that's what needs to be restructured. You look at these STEM courses, but the boat tech has got to come back in. You've got to be able to have professional educators. You know, here in Florida, I've got a real problem is all I have to have is a certificate saying I went I got my associate's degree for education. A certificate? Okay, first of all, I would like to see every instructor that's in these schools having a child development master's degree or an master's of education to be able to teach. So those that do not have it at this point, give them the opportunity of 5 years, and if they want to further their education, that they can have a program that can actually help them because they are teaching our kids. So let's get the best teachers of all so that we can create the phenomenal students that can get out there and go to work. Once they get out of high school, they want to go to college, whatever they want to do. It's there to go to that next level. The other thing, we've got to bring in the PE again. We got to get these kids. You know why we've got so many kids being bullied? We took physical ed out of the schools. I don't know about you guys, but I can't stand sitting in a chair for 5 hours just listening to somebody talk or looking at a computer all day long and answering questions on it and taking tests continuously. I got energy. I'm a teenager. I'm exploding inside. It's going to go somewhere if I can't release it. So if we have the PE nutritional plan back in play, we get these kids out there exercising, getting rid of that steam. We already know what that does. It helps in so many different ways. It also helps reduce teen pregnancies. It also reduces the bullying. There's so many different pieces to that puzzle that you have. And it also is helping these kids to be able to learn how to work as a team. And that's some of the benefits that you have through the sports activity, putting it through the school systems through K through 12. You're getting it set up where we need those factors to include everyone. Doesn't matter what your race, your age, your gender, social behavior. But all these other issues, if we do not take care of them by doing the positive influence, we're looking at drug addiction. We're looking at other behavioral problems. And a matter of fact, I was diagnosed ADHD. I'm not a dyslexic kid. I'm not a disabled kid. And if you will look at most of your large corporations and CEOs, most successful people are ADHD. We have a high IQ. All we have to do is start teaching our kids, instead of giving them Ritalin or some drug, let's teach them how to focus that energy and direct that energy so they can complete so many different missions and be able to do much more for society and for their own selves. See, we got to stop labeling. That's another problem we got in the school systems. We label, PC, PC, PC. Enough.
Well, once they put a label on it, then they can divide.
Right now.
Once they put a label on us, then they can divide us and say, right, this group is for that, and this group is for that. And then they start making the deals so they can get that vote. So we've got to stop letting them divide us, and we stay united as unhyphenated Americans. And if we look at it this way, we will have a nation that won't have all these riots. We won't have our cops being executed left and right, because we will be teaching each and every one of us to respect the other person so that we can work together and move this nation forward. But that's not what we're seeing from the abomination, the Obama administration. But this is what I'm hearing from you, bringing and uniting people together. And we see it with the way he's picking his cabinet. Now, I was going to ask you a question and went completely out of my mind. I started a rant and I forget where I'm going.
Well, I got a question.
Go ahead,
I got
Curtis.
a question. Nathan, when you become governor, and if there should be some university in the state of Florida that decides they do not want to fly the national emblem, which is the flag, what would you do about that? Or could you do anything?
Well, if they're a state-funded university, first of all, they will be putting the flag up, and they will have no other authority but the state because we fund them. That's the bottom line on that part. If it's a private entity university, they actually have rights that they can actually do it, but I would actually insist, if we have any of those students that go to that university that are scholarship by the state, then they will have to have the flag. Period. In a statement.
All right, Nathan, here in South Carolina, we've passed legislation that's been signed into law by Governor Haley that at the high school level and now at the higher learning level, college, the founding principles and documents must be taught. Would you work on passing legislation for the state of Florida?
Absolutely.
Okay, simple answer. one word. What we've been fighting... No hesitation. Here also, we've been fighting the mandate, the Medicaid mandate. And now, people that listen here, they do know, and I'll go at length onto this, there's a difference between Medicare and Medicaid. Medicaid being an entitlement. Medicare is something I pay for, I do not get for free. So do not call Medicare an entitlement. So here they've been attempting to expand Medicaid, and Governor Haley has been fighting it. Would you be fighting any additional expansion of Medicaid in your state?
Well, absolutely. That was what Johnson put together. He pushed that forward, too, back in his day. And Medicaid is necessary for some people. Some people do need assistance, but they need to be vetted. They have learned how to, and it doesn't matter what race you are, they all have learned how to use the techniques to be able to get Medicaid and other little benefits for entitlement purposes. I would absolutely I would maintain that if you will be able to receive your monies each and every month, you will have to have a urinalysis or a blood test. Mine would be rather to have a blood test done on that individual so that you don't have to worry about any contamination or any misuse of the issue. So you're coming in with your own, you're going to have to get your labs at a state facility, and they will draw the blood, they will run it to make sure that you have no trace of any illicit drugs, first of all. We will also, when it comes to food coupons, I want to make sure that you're not doing something on the side with that. If you're caught by going out and buying a bunch of lobsters and then going and selling them out on the street corner, and you get caught selling them on that street corner, you're going to have to pay the penalty. And we'll have to assess that and see what that scenario would come out to be. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done on that. I think we're going to see a lot with the president also working on that, because they are blocked funds that come in from Congress. So we have to evaluate that when it comes in more depth. And even though I don't like a bunch of studies and all these other things done, I think there's been enough done. We just need to take what's been already put on the books, evaluate it, and then take the appropriate action through the Florida State Senate and House to be able to move it forward, to get things into play that make sure that those individuals or those children are being taken care of. And, we know how many homeless kids that are even going to school that don't even have have shelter to live in. In one county, in Brevard County in Florida, we know there's over 1,600 of those kids already. That's a real big issue to me.
Wow. No,
Nathan, I got another question for you. Current Governor Scott once asked the White House to cooperate with them on information about refugees and ISIS, and the White House declined. Actually, they refused to share information with the state of Florida. You don't think we'll have that problem with Trump, do you?
No, I don't think we're going to have that problem at all with Trump, at all, bar none. And I'll tell you what, I've got a real issue with it, because we know that the Syrian refugees have came here. We know other refugees have been put in the state. We also have a problem, too. We have sanctuary cities in the state, the counties as well. So we've got some real issues there that need to be resolved ASAP. And the other part, too, and every state needs to really look at this. Every state needs to look at about saying no to Sharia law being implemented in any form or fashion or edited by amendment that goes in and protects our rights as Americans. We all know that Sharia law will not do that. Now, Florida passed something last year. However, it could be amended, it could be edited and changed as well and removed, because they didn't do it the full format that it needs to be written. Legislation with any holes is typical when you have others writing it so they can get manipulating around that legislation so they get what they want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would emphasize that, during your campaign, if I were you. People want security these days, and they didn't get that the last 8 years.
Yeah, and we've got a big problem here. We know that we also have, a friend of mine from OSI retired, and another friend of his that was a Christian Kurd. They worked together in Iraq, and now the Kurd is actually an American citizen. He did a lot, saved a lot of lives, and solid Christian as well. And he went in to the Panhandle, round up the area out there, and found 13 mosques training and teaching radical Islam with the books and material inside those mosques in Fort Walton Beach and one outside of Pensacola. And since then, I have already been able to locate at least 5 others, besides the one we all know about that's been in Orlando this whole time, that still has not been shut down. And my question is, why doesn't the state use the right abilities to be able to remove the 501c3 status from the mosques that are training radical Islam. And a matter of fact, not just that, any radical teachings in any facility that do harm towards any American or anyone, to remove that nonprofit status from the state level. And then if they are then found to be continuing the practice, and then getting the judicial system of Florida or whatever state to then take the authority or get the feds to come in with us and apprehend and then seize the property, and then we got a place to put the veterans that have no home.
Well, Nathan, I wish we had more time to spend with you. We've got our next guest up. I want to let everyone know your website is your name, Nathan D. Wilson, followed by FL for Florida, NathanDWilsonFL.com. And you definitely going to be back on, and quite often, until you get yourself into the State House there in Florida.
Well, thank you so much, and I really appreciate all of you. And everyone, have a safe and a happy Thanksgiving. And again, thank you guys for having me on your show.
Oh, you have a blessed Thanksgiving too. All right, Nathan D. Wilson. Check out his website, NathanDWilsonFL.com. Great. Hopefully he makes it all the way up to the governorship in this upcoming election. Well, I want to welcome back to our show, a little late, but he's here with us today, author of The Green Card Warrior, My Quest for Legal Immigration, and also the founder of FlagUSA.org, Nick Adams. Good afternoon, Nick.
Annie Ubelis, pleasure to be with you, man. Long time.
It is a pleasure. It sounds like you're on the road again.
I am constantly on the road, but I'm always thrilled to join you and your listeners and have a chat about all things American and all things Annie Ubelis.
You were here last time when you had Retaking America, which was a great book, and at that point you were attempting to emigrate to the United States, and you detail that journey in your book, The Green Card Warrior. I don't know how you managed to stay the course, but you did. Tell us about that journey.
Well, I appreciate it, Annie. I appreciate the opportunity. Look, I started the immigration process 4.5 years ago. And I know that at the best of times, it's a long and an expensive process. And mine was only amplified by the fact that I actually encountered political persecution. And in fact, that's why Green Card Warrior is such a unique and profound and already best-selling book, because it details the first documented case that we have of the Obama administration using the State Department to screen potential immigrants based on their politics. And I had an approved extraordinary ability green card petition, Annie, and at the very last second there was an individual in the State Department who tried to overturn that particular extraordinary ability green card petition, which saw me unable to travel to America for a period of time, which also saw me have it in doubt whether or not I'd ever be able to return to America in my lifetime due to a long-standing legal principle known as immigrant intent. It's amazing how difficult it is to immigrate to America the right way, and it just makes you want to take out a baseball bat when you consider when people come here the wrong way, how they are effectively rewarded for their bad behavior.
Well, it's a fantastic book. As a matter of fact, I did put a, I can't think of certain words today. My head is having a brain fart. A review on the book up on Amazon. And the funny thing is, when I did the review, someone else wrote to that and commented on it, saying, well, if you like Nick Adams, you should go and check out Trevor Loudon. And the funny part is, Trevor and I happen to be friends. I've known him for about 6 years. So he was having the similar type of difficulty coming here and emigrating because of his conservative views. And I'm glad that you did stay the course and that you are with us here. But what would you have done if you couldn't come here?
Well, Annie, look, like I say, I mean, I always wanted to come to America because this is the greatest country in the history of the world. I come to make and not take. I come to give and not receive. I've come here with the knowledge and the understanding and the appreciation that this is the greatest country in the history of the world, that the dreams that God put in my heart have got the most chance to come to fruition here, that this is a country where you can colour outside of the line, where you can blaze a trail, where you can leave a legacy, where you can really do things that you just can't do anywhere else. And I didn't want to be part of a country anymore where I felt like I had to conform, where I felt restricted. I wanted to come to a place that celebrated individualism, that celebrated eccentricity, that celebrated people that took a risk. And that's really why I wanted to come and be a part of America, and I was prepared to endure whatever I had to endure. I mean, I don't want your listeners to make a mistake. I mean, I think it should be hard to become an American, without a doubt. I think it should be very strict, but I think it should be fair. And if it's going to be strict for people that do everything the right way, it should also be strict for those that don't do it the right way. And I would think that America would want young, hungry, ambitious people like me with an entrepreneurial mind and a love for America. I would think I'd be a model immigrant. And unfortunately, though, we're seeing America take in a lot of people that don't even like the United States of America. And I think it's a really bad moral and logical inversion that we are witnessing.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately, and hopefully with this Trump administration, that will start to turn around and the nation be taking pride in its exceptionalism. You said something very, very interesting in your book, which I used in my last show, that you said America is great because we have the right to fail.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, look, Annie, the thing that people always ask me is, why did you want to leave Australia? Australia's a fine country. It's democratic. It's free. It's all of those things. And on the surface, a lot of that is true. But culture really determines for me what a country and what life is really like in a certain place. And in Australia, if you fail, first of all, there is no chance to get back up. I mean, I think, and that's one of the things I want to really stress for your listeners this afternoon, is that in America, you can fall down 5,001 times, but if you've got the grit and determination to get up 5,002, then you'll be able to get up. If you go bankrupt once in Australia or England or any other place in the world, you're more or less, your business life as you know it is finished. You can't get a loan, you can't get support, people abandon you, the media makes fun of you, whereas in America, many, if not perhaps most, of the super high net worth individuals have all gone bankrupt at least once, some several times. And so that's a really big distinction, I think, for America compared to other countries. You know, in Australia and England and Germany and other parts of Western Europe, where the government is so expansive, and essentially it's impossible to fail because the government is always there to pick you up and support you, and so it removes the incentive to take a risk. It removes the incentive to be great, and all of a sudden mediocrity becomes the status quo. Mediocrity becomes the natural state. And, you know, I'm not really about kissing butt, Annie. I'm about kicking it. And I came to America because this is the country where you're free to kick butt. And in fact, where if you have a good idea, other people will help you kick butt. And I didn't want to be mediocre. I wanted to be part of a culture and a country and a people that strive for greatness as opposed to mediocrity. So that's why I came here, and yeah, it's that chance to fail that really drew me to America, and I know drives a lot of other immigrants to America. I mean, this is a culture where you either sink or you swim, and it's all down to how hard you're going to fight and how much you're willing to put on the line, whether or not you survived. But I think that brings out the best in the human condition.
Well, I wanted to have your take on this last election we just had, especially with the left, that they were already saying, Hillary's going to be the next president. Time magazine had already put Hillary on the cover. You had Rachel Maddow going, "Oh yes, we're going to take this," and then by the end of her broadcast, she was in tears. What was your take on this whole circus that we just went through?
Well, I was one of the very few people, Annie, from the very beginning, and you may even remember this from our interview in January earlier this year, January to November, with beginning and the end of the year. Lots happened between. But you may recall that I was one of the first people, when Donald Trump announced on the 16th of June, 2015, I was one of the few people that immediately announced my support for Mr. Trump. And I did so because my assessment of the world and where it was at, Annie Ubelis, was that it really required someone that transcended being a politician and someone who would be really able to change the culture and make a huge difference, because I realized that in order to win the White House, a Republican would have to take on their own party, they would have to take on the Democrats, they'd have to take on the media, they'd have to take on the globalists, they'd have to take on Wall Street, and that it would require nothing short of a political miracle to do it. And I didn't think that any politician, no matter how articulate, no matter how well presented, no matter how good a record, no matter how consistent, no matter how conservative, I didn't think that a regular politician could do it. And I'm really proud to say that I ended up being right, because I don't think anyone else could have won that election a fortnight ago except Donald Trump. He was the only one of the 17 candidates that were originally on that stage fighting for the Republican nomination that could have won. And I'm blessed to have had a small role in the campaign. I spoke at a couple of his rallies. I spoke at one of Mr. Pence's rallies, Governor Pence's rallies, so all over the country. So I was thrilled to be a part of that. I'm really glad I picked the right horse. I read The Art of the Deal when I was 11. And it's because of that I've been a lifelong admirer of Mr. Trump, and I kind of instinctively knew when he announced that there was no one that could possibly touch him. I mean, the man is a marketing genius, and the man has what I like to call animal cunning. I mean, he is just able to size someone up and instinctively describe them, and in one foul swoop, basically change your opinion or put them in a box. And he did that throughout the campaign. He did that, with low-energy Jeb Bush, a man who had a phenomenal governing record in Florida. I'd always thought, I never really considered it, not that it was important, but I always thought somehow that Marco Rubio must be 6'3". Turns out Marco Rubio is not 6'3". But, I mean, I would never have thought about it, and when you combine his age and then his height and everything else, it became, the moniker of Little Marco all of a sudden really changed your view, no matter how positive or wonderful you thought Marco Rubio was. Lion Ted, the same thing. Then I remember that first debate when Rand Paul kind of went for the jugular. Now, I've never really had much time for Rand Paul's politics. His foreign policy and mine are very divergent, but I always thought that Rand Paul was a pretty what's the word? What are the words I'm looking for here? I always thought that for his views and his nature, he was a pretty consistent, principled kind of guy for what he stood for. And then all of a sudden he made the charge at Trump in that first debate, trying to, say that, you've taken money from Hillary and you're doing this and you're just doing the Democrats' bidding. And Trump just turned to him and said, you should know, I've given you money. and all of a sudden, everything that I thought about Rand Paul being this principled and stand-up guy, even if I didn't necessarily agree with him, I thought he was, very... All of a sudden, Donald Trump had made ground beef out of Rand Paul. So he has these abilities that not many other people, unless you've been a student of his for a long time, thought were going to happen. And then it's one thing to think that they were going to happen. It's another thing to think that they'd be effective within politics. But he was the right guy at the right time. I'm almost tempted to say he was sent by God to save America, because I don't know anyone else that could have won. He won those Rust Belt states. So I'm thrilled, Annie. I'm thrilled that America pulled itself from the brink once again, and I am reminded of what Sir Winston Churchill, the greatest figure of the 20th century, famously said: America always does the right thing after exhausting every other option. And sure enough, America pulled one out for civilization and mankind on the 8th of November 2016 against all odds yet again.
Well, maybe...
You know something, Nick? I agree with you. Nobody else would have stood up against Hillary but Trump. I mean, think about it. In the past, we've had John McCain and others who didn't fight. They didn't, defend themselves against what the liberals were putting out. So, in that sense, yes, I think Trump was the man. And another thing I think we forget is that Trump retired two powerful political dynasties in America. He retired the Clintons, and he also retired the Bush. And that's something Americans have long waited for, somebody to retire those two political families.
That's true.
He put them all out the pasture.
Mm-hmm. He did that. Now, I'm just wondering whether now, if 10 Downing Street will return Churchill's bust to the White House. Because remember, that's the first thing Obama got rid of in the White House was Churchill's bust.
Oh, yeah.
That's something to...
Well, I'm sure that's going to happen. I think that we're going to see a very different White House. We're going to see a very different presidency. We're going to see a very different world order. Can I tell you, I talked to a few of my friends back in Australia. They are still in freak-out mode about this, as is every other country around the world. I spoke to my grandmother in Germany. I mean, people are absolutely, they're shocked. I mean, we shocked the world. I hope you guys realize we shocked the world on the 8th of November. We really did.
And I'm wondering why they're so shocked when we look at the results of the Brexit vote. And now you've got the election going on in France, and that is turning everyone on their heads because, again, it's going towards the conservative bent instead of the liberal policies. But they're seeing this go across the world.
Can take.
Well, that's...
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Annie. Look, it's, I don't think anyone thought that it was going to happen. Everyone bought into this media narrative. Everyone bought into this idea that Trump was unelectable. And for so long, you see that the voices of everyday, ordinary, patriotic Americans had been so marginalized and so dampened and made so non-existent that the Democrats themselves had forgotten that those people still existed. And they were talking about their inherent advantage with the Electoral College, and they were talking about all of these different groups, and it's impossible to win this group and that group, and they completely underestimated the average, everyday, ordinary, working-class people that quite frankly, this country was founded on and based on and predicated around, who turned out, in some areas in record numbers, to make sure that America got set on a different path. And, I mean, President Obama, his entire legacy is not even worth the paper it's written on now. It's going to be all completely ruined. All of his soaring rhetoric, all of his, giddiness, all of his acting like the astute professor and chiding us all and teaching us, and all of that stuff, I mean, now is all relegated to the dustbin of history because it's all about to be undone by his polar opposite.
Well, in your book, Green Card Warrior, there's one section I copied out of it because you described the left perfectly. You said the national media, teachers, professors, celebrities, the politically correct, those with the loudest megaphones are drowning out truth and forcing America to whisper. Their goal is simple but transformative. Cripple American confidence, question America's legitimacy, diminish America on the world stage, deny American exceptionalism, make patriotic pride suspect, create a self-loathing nation unwilling to fight for itself or what is right. But what they left out of this, which you recognize and we recognize, is that our patriots are exceptional. Our Americans are exceptional. We are not Greeks. We are not French. We are Americans. And what makes us American is our fierce pride and fierce independence. And they didn't count on that. They thought they had us licked, but they don't. Which brings me to your website, flagusa.org. Because of that paragraph, I think, is what you had in mind when you formed that flagusa.org.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, Annie. I have started my own organisation called the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness, the acronym of which is FLAG. And FLAG is the world's only organised fighting force against anti-Americanism. So we are not a think tank, we are a battle tank that is determined to change the culture and change the media narrative by using the tactics of the left back against them. That's what we want to do, and that's what we are going to do, and we want to do. We want to make the case for America aggressively, unapologetically, robustly, and swiftly, because we're sick and tired of America being a punching bag for the rest of the world. So FLAG is an educational non-profit. We are going into as many elementary, middle, and high schools as we possibly can, talking to kids about what makes America special, what makes America different, why is the Constitution the best political document ever written, what would the world look like today were it not for American leadership in the 20th century, what would the world look like in the future if there was no America, what all has America given the world, why has the U.S. been an unparalleled force for good. So we are seeking to counter the army of anti-American activists, Annie, that are deliberately and recklessly painting America as a hateful place and raising a generation of young people to feel, at best, ambivalent about their country and at worst, even hate their country. And no country can survive that.
No, and that's the problem, because we've had guests on from Europe that would talk about the attitude, the manipulation of the individual over there. You're not better than anyone else. Why should you have anything better than I have? It's the constant put down, until the person finally throws their hands up and says, I give up. But here in America, we just sat in the sidelines, waited for the right moment, and then made our moves. The silent majority is a very powerful element here in the United States, and this is what the left constantly gets wrong, because we're not going away. We may get slapped around a little bit, but we're not going to go away. Matter of fact, Vito Esposito, who also has a radio show, which maybe you might want to see if I can get you on over there, because I'm sure he'd love to have you. He writes, "It's time we fought back the progressives when they call us racist or some phobe. Just fight back and not take it. And I think that's what your whole website is basically about.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right, Annie. It is. FLAG is the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness. You can go on the website, flagusa.org. That's flagusa.org. Acquaint yourself with the name and the organisation, because it will be a household name, because we are filling a much-needed vacuum in the culture, and that is standing up for America and fighting anti-Americanism. No one else is doing it. There's no other organisation solely dedicated to promoting American exceptionalism and fighting back against anti-Americanism at home and abroad. But we're doing it because we've got to do it, Annie, because America is not just a country, it's an idea. It's the best idea the world has ever had. It's the indispensable idea of civilization, and we need to do everything we can to keep it as strong and as powerful and as healthy as we can.
Mm. And that you're doing a great job on that, because when you write about why FLAG is necessary, you talk about the media and the schools, and I'm watching what was happening after Trump has been elected and how these students from the left are putting out these safe zones where nothing Trump is talked about. They have to have psychiatrists come in and talk to them. They're getting their little rubber balls or whatever else they're getting to help them cope. These therapy animals. That's not the America that you knew, and this is what the America that Hillary wanted.
Well, exactly. Yeah, no, I didn't come to America for it to be Australia. I didn't come to America for it to be Germany. I didn't come to America for it to be England. I came to America because there are things about America that I can't get anywhere else and that don't exist anywhere else. And so I want the US to remain as strong and as healthy and as powerful as possible, and that's why I've dedicated my life to making sure that we preserve all of the distinctions of America compared to the rest.
Now, how do you get yourself to go around to the schools? What is it if someone wants to have you at their school? What do they have to do?
They can go to flagusa.org. We have a Speak at Our School form that they can submit to us, and we will make sure that we get a speaker out there. We there's not a school that we turn down. Elementary, middle, junior high, high school, the whole lot. We love to reach as many hearts and minds as we possibly can, and we invite everyone to if you've got either a child at school, a grandchild at school, if you are a teacher, anyone that would like FLAG to come into the school and talk to kids about why they should be proud to be American and the things that make America special, then you need to you need to get in touch with us and have us come out there, because we promise you that we're going to leave the kids at that school burning for America, thrilled to be American, and that they know what being an American is and what it means, because unfortunately now for several generations it has not been taught what it means to be an American, what Americanism is, and that's what FLAG is trying to do.
Now, I have a question for you, because I have a friend of mine, he's a history teacher, and the book that he had, he found in there so many errors and so much propaganda in there. Would you also be starting to look at these textbooks and seeing how, if any of them are being distorted and exposing them?
Well, without a doubt. I mean, you'll notice that our tagline for FLAG is guard, expose, defend. And I operate, I always have, Annie, under a very simple premise. If you can't make them see the light, make them feel the heat. And that's exactly what FLAG is doing. We are in the process of developing our own curriculum. We want to provide and present our own textbooks that teachers and homeschooling organisations and other educational institutions can use, because we don't want our kids learning from Howard Zinn or other avowed anti-Americans. We don't want them subject to the red pen edits of their teachers and those that would diminish America deliberately because for some reason they feel that America doesn't comport with their worldview.
Well, we got a question in the chat room from our friend Vito. He wants to know how you feel about Hampshire College in Massachusetts taking down the U.S. flags because students are offended by the American flag.
Yeah, I wish that my organisation was in more of an advanced position. Unfortunately, we're still in our infancy now, that we don't have the resources to go and take that on head on. But I promise you that give us another 12 months and we're going to be all over an incident like that. One of our exciting projects, Annie, is we want to have a watch list, a list called Flag Watch, where, all of us as conservatives and as people that have got the interests of America at heart, I guess, our way of looking at things, we're all on one of the left watch lists, guaranteed, if not several. I'm sure I feature on about a dozen. I wear it as a badge of honour. But we want to, that's a great tactic that the left use to enormous effect and impact. They basically, it's called the shaming. If you read Saul Alinsky, you'll learn about shaming. And by featuring us on these lists, we lose our jobs and we miss out on opportunities, and they create problems in our personal lives. So I think it's time to return the favour. And we want to have a list of anti-Americans, of people that burn the flag or refuse to pledge allegiance or deliberately sit out the national anthem if you're an NFL player, is what I'm thinking about. All of those people, we want to make sure that employers and the general public know which organisations are pro-American, which organisations are anti-American, which individuals are pro-American and which individuals are anti-American. So that's how we're going to change the culture. I mean, I can't promise you, Annie, that flag is going to eliminate anti-Americanism entirely. It's just not possible. But I can promise you that people are going to be thinking 1,776 times before they open their mouths to defame, libel, mock, deride, traduce, castigate the US of A.
Yeah, well, I was reading an Associated Press article today in the newspaper that several members of Congress and Senate are putting forward legislation, hate crime bills, because of this rhetoric in the last election cycle. And I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the names that some of these legislators that are putting this forward. I'm going, oh my goodness, they're going after the First Amendment again and freedom of speech. Will you be tackling those issues too?
Well, without a doubt. Look, I mean, at first, like I say, we're just an organisation that is doing incredible things. We've been into 30 schools, trained 3,891 students already across 12 different states. The overwhelming majority of those 30 schools are actually inner city schools. So we're doing wonderful things, but unfortunately we're just focused right now on the basics until we can really branch out. But I can promise you, Annie Ubelis, that we're going to be all over all of those things like a bad rash.
Oh, God bless you for doing that. Because we do have liberal teachers that are brainwashing our kids. And, here you have the American flag not being flown over a college. I was also watching an interview of someone interviewing a progressive, and he was saying that the American flag stood for slavery and all this other BS that he was saying. And I'm looking at him, he's African American, and I'm saying, wait a minute, which side carried the American flag into battle during the Civil War? Was it the abolitionists or was it the slave owners? These people just have no concept of history, and they'll just shoot anything out of their mouth. And if they throw it at the camera and the people on the other end just buy it up without fact-checking anything, it's amazing. The hypocrisy, the lies, the ignorance that is out there from the left. We need groups like Flag USA to clear up the smoke.
Yeah, without a doubt, that's exactly right, Annie. But look, I'm thrilled to do it, and I'm pleased that we've had the opportunity to have a chat today. and expose your listeners to Flag. It's always a pleasure to join you. It's always a pleasure to speak to your listeners directly. It's a great privilege, and I'm enormously grateful to you and your patriotism.
Oh, thank you so much, Nick. If any of the listeners out there wanted to join Flag USA and help become one of these speakers with you or make a donation, can they go to that website and do that?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. They can go to flagusa.org. If they'd like to make a donation, they can go to flagusa.org/donate. All the information is there. If you'd like to contact us about something different, you can avail yourself of the Contact Us opportunity that's on there. We would love to get as many patriots as possible. We can't do this by ourselves. We need an army of everyday, ordinary people that are sick of not having a voice. Flag intends to be your voice, and we want to hear from you so that we can deafen the left and all of the politically correct cockroaches that have been destroying our life and our country and everything that we know and we love.
Yeah, well, Bigfoot made an observation that the left, these students that are melting down because Trump is elected, they call themselves snowflakes, and they've adopted the diaper pin as their symbol. How appropriate for the crybabies. Go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah, I was going to say, getting back to these crybabies and whatnot, it's the school system we're going to have to change, because it's the school system that made these kids the way they are today. And I'm talking about the left wing party that's been influencing and controlling the school system for the last 60, 70 years. It may take some time, but hopefully Trump will start making inroads into the school system and putting back, courses and things that put America in a good light, and show us, show these kids the accomplishments that this country has made and the contribution it has made to the world. I think all they hear today is how bad America is and how we got into everybody else's business and we didn't need to be over there and this and that and the other. So they have a negative view of America, and we got to change that through the school system.
Nick, you with us? Did we lose Nick?
Yeah, look, Annie, all of that's right. That's exactly right. That's why Flag has been set up to do all of that stuff. Like I say, we're not going to let you down. We're going to work really, really hard. I'm very grateful to you and Curtis and all of you that get it. Please join us as we go forward and try and leave a legacy and secure the American dream for another 200 years at least.
All right, and are you on right now a book tour for the Green Card Warrior?
Not anymore, Annie, but I'm constantly traveling the country speaking at schools and speaking to different organizations.
Well, if everyone wants the book, they can go to Amazon.com or go to your other website, which is nickadamsinamerica.com, right?
That's right. Thank you very much, Annie.
All right, thank you so much, Nick. Guys, check out Nick Adams at flagusa.org and have a happy Thanksgiving and blessed Thanksgiving, Nick. Thank you so much. Oh, man, we got about 20 minutes left, Curtis, and I started to mention this article I pulled up the other day about a liberal teacher ruining the next generation. This was in, where the heck was this? AbsoluteRights.com. A California history teacher was placed on leave after a complaint over a lesson where he compared President-elect Donald Trump, now catch this, to Adolf Hitler. These are the kids, these are the teachers that are teaching our children. And how you can compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler, I do not get. I have no idea where this guy came up with it. The guy's name is Frank Navarro. And he was asked to leave in the middle of the day after a parent sent an email to Mountain View High School expressing concerns. So this guy has taught at this high school for 40 years. So that's 40 years of students that went through his classroom with him espousing this tripe. Now, is that not scary?
It's beyond scary. It's just I don't know. It's un-American, first of all, because we we have learned to accept the results of our elections. You know, at least when I was growing up, we didn't have all this, these safe spaces and crybabies and teddy bears for the college kids, to calm them down. You know, we took the results like adults. Yes, it is scary, but these are kids who have been pampered from day one in kindergarten, which you expect, in that grade. But once you get above second and third grade, you think you would be a little more, mature. Maturity would start setting in. But these kids, they're the products of their education and their environment, I believe.
Well, they've been given so much of this wrong information. One parent had told her child, and this is tantamount to child abuse, that if Donald Trump was elected, they were all going to be kicked out of the United States. Now, the child, it turns out, is a legal citizen of the United States, but of Hispanic parents. So here's the parent brainwashing the child, so the child is now hysterical, crying because Trump is elected, and they fear they're going to be forced to leave the United States. That's not what's going to happen, folks. He's going to kick the criminals out. If you're here legally, if you're an American citizen, you're not going to get kicked out. And what's going to happen also, once he takes the oath of office, a lot of them will self-deport themselves, knowing that the hammer's going to come down. So they may as well get the good train ride out before they end up locked up in jail and going through an expensive legal process, only to end up back at home. It's the propaganda that is causing the panic.
We know that liberals are good at lying, to get their viewpoints across or to get people to think a certain way. So they're not beyond lying. I mean, look at Hillary. She would go and be under, I don't know if she was under oath, but she probably would lie under oath too. But when they see their leaders doing that and getting away with it, they think it's all right. So I don't know. This is going to change, I believe.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that I did hear is there's a rumor that was coming out of the Trump camp. I don't know if it's true or not. And if it is true, a lot of people that voted for him are going to be very angry because someone from that camp spread the rumor that he's not going to go after Hillary criminally. And I think that's a huge mistake. That would be a huge mistake if he does not press her crimes against the nation.
I believe so, too. And I saw that, but I didn't read the article. Unless he's just being glib about it, maybe he means he personally won't, but he'll get his AG to go after him.
Well, Trey Gowdy is just waiting to get her back in front of Congress again. There's several investigations going on still, and Congress is not going to let go of these, I don't think. I'm praying they don't, because if Trump doesn't go after them, Congress should. He should encourage them to do it. I don't know. But it's a thought that my husband and I looked at each other and goes, no, we did not just hear that. Please tell us that's not what we just heard. He needs to follow through. And Congress needs to follow through on that one. And Vito is correct in the chat room. It's sad that the campaign the left is doing on Hispanics, blacks, and gays, it's like the end of the world. And it is. The sky is falling, the skies are falling, and now he's elected, and guess what? The sky didn't fall. There was yep.
It's just falling for the liberals.
Yeah, now, I'm looking at this. Oh, all right. This came from Drew McKissick. All right. He wrote an article about the 10 Trump election lessons. And number one, he said, is money isn't what it used to be. Trump spent, I think, $5 per voter compared to Hillary Clinton. He spent a tenth of what she did. And he ended up being elected. He was more adept at getting the message out and getting the right message out than she was. Let's bring on a caller here, Curtis. We have a good friend of ours. If BTR will, there we go. Welcome, Sweet Sue. How are you today?
Yes, hi, Annie. I'm doing good. When you were talking about Trump not prosecuting Hillary, that is true. First, Kellyanne Conway came out, and then today Trump has come out. But what people have to realize, yes, Congress can go after her, and he's not going to actively pursue what we know so far. That as the FBI and everybody starts investigating the Clinton Foundation, then, they can go after it. But Trump himself won't. And the reasons he gave today were that he just felt at this critical time in bringing everyone together to get his agenda passed, that it would not serve but further divide. And so that's what's going on there.
Oh, that's interesting. Because when my husband, and it was Kellyanne Conway that we heard say that, when I heard that, I said, ooh, I'm not too sure if that's too smart a move. But hang on there, Sue. We've got another caller coming in, and my studio is lighting up. It looks like we got a Skype caller. To whom am I speaking?
You are speaking to Joe. How are you doing?
Hi, Joe. How are you doing?
Okay. This is Joe from Montana. I haven't called you in a while.
I know. You've been MIA.
Yes, I have. Okay. I'm at your description page, and you had a guest, or maybe half a guest on. It's talking about exceptionalism. Is that the Bush exceptionalism for America, or is it a different kind?
Oh, it's a different kind. You got to check out Nick Adams.
Okay.
You got to check out Nick Adams' website, which is flagusa.org. Just click on the link on the show page, and you'll see it's completely different than what the Bushes have. Absolutely.
Oh, thank God. So it's not nation building, bombing people, anything like that.
No, it's not. Matter of fact,
okay.
Well, Joe, also get his book, The Green Card Warrior, and you'll see in every single word he writes in that how much he loves this country and how he fought to come here. And he went through one hellacious ordeal and lots of money just to get here. And that's how much he loves America and loves its exceptionalism.
Okay, cool. I'm at the website now.
Okay.
All right, because I wanted to give a piece of my mind, because I'm hoping Trump pulls back on the Mideast crisis. I'm hoping that he recognizes terrorism for what it actually is. I'm hoping that he does restore America, to become great again. But the exceptionalism, I wanted to make sure about. Okay, so now I know.
Okay.
I'll just wait for you to talk to the other guests. You only have a few minutes left anyway.
Yes, I do. Well, thanks for the call, Joe. Hang out.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
I got a little feedback on Joe, so I'm sorry. I had to mute him. I was getting it in my headset. I don't know if you were getting it too, Curtis. It was like a reverb.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. But,
it was a little static.
Yeah, but Joe's a good caller. He's a good guy. Good. Yeah. Oh, now Vito's making a funny in the chat room. He's writing, is it true that Trump is going to cede New Mexico to Mexico? No, I think they're going to send California to Mexico. That was a good one, Vito. All right. I just want to go over a couple of these top 10 listens. He goes, free media matters. Did you see the way Trump worked the media? I mean, anything and everything he threw at them. The media would throw anything they could at him, but he would throw it right back. He was very skillful in using the media. And I would say also the social networks also, like Twitter, Facebook, and everything else. Very good. If you look at the number of followers on Twitter to Trump compared to Hillary Clinton, she had like 1/10 of what he had, which brings me around to when I said originally, don't look at the polls. Look at the number of people that show up at his rallies. And Curtis, you sent me that list of all the different social networks. Yeah. And that's when we said, look at the people who are following him and who are showing up on the rallies, and then compare it to who is following her and who's showing up at hers. And it's night and day, and it turned out to be completely correct. Night and day.
And I still don't believe all those numbers they say that she got. I really don't believe those numbers. They had to be dead people, convicts or whatever, people voting twice. I mean, you look at the Trump rallies, like you said, she had nothing like that. So where all these people come from on the Democrat side?
No, and you still have North Carolina that is still being counted. McCrory is something I think about 6,000 votes shy of winning re-election, but he came forward and he says, no, we need an investigation here because there's so many here that were deceased that were voting. He was saying there was a lot of voting tampering going on in North Carolina, and that was to win the governor's seat. So I think there's going to be little stories popping out here and there along the way about vote tampering. So let's see what happens with North Carolina. If he is successful in his challenge, which he is not ceding the election. What's the name of the... is it Johnson? I forget what the name of the other guy is that ran against him. Someone will probably know it in the chat room anyway. But he has not ceded the election yet, and he's standing there fighting tooth and nail. And that's what we need in our elected officials, willing to fight. We didn't have that in Romney. We did not have that in McCain, and that's why they lost. We have it in Trump. Nope. We have it in Governor McCrory, and this is why there was a silent revolution on Election Day. Let's name it the silent revolution that occurred on Election Day. It was a fantastic and beautiful thing to see. Yeah, go ahead, Sue.
You know, I want to say something else about Trump's decision with Hillary Clinton. Pictures have come out and reports that she's heavily drinking. You know, I don't believe she has that much longer to live. Neither does Bill Clinton. And then you're left with Chelsea Clinton. Already their Clinton Foundation is nosediving. And so I really want revenge. I really want him convicted. But I see what Trump is doing. Again, it's the art of the deal. He knows what is most important for this country to get his 100-day agenda, passed, to bring Congress in, to bring both sides together. So while it's upsetting to many about what he has decided to do with Clinton's, I hope people take that into consideration.
Well, that is a very, very well thought out idea. I like that. I could see that if he's doing it, for that. And to get that 100-day agenda passed, it's very, very tactful. I agree with you, Ness. I can see that. But I also see a lot of people that will be angry that he did not complete that task. But if he allows Congress to go forward and he doesn't interfere, and if Congress is able to get a true bill and ask the Attorney General to, convene a grand jury or something, if he doesn't stand in that, I can also agree with that. I just don't want to see the investigations dropped. This has to be exposed. But if he's going to do it that way and he can step back and keep his hands clear of it, it's a very good idea.
That's exactly what he's going to do. If you watch his words and even what Kellyanne Conway said, is that Trump was not going to pursue it. But look who he put in as his nomination for Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. He has been on all these committees. He knows the dirt. I think Jeff Sessions will also pursue Benghazi. So that's exactly what Trump's doing. And I hope people just have faith and not get too angry.
Well, he's playing master chess, and we're on tic-tac-toe. Right?
I really feel that he's going to get his attorney general to go after them. I just think he means he personally will not, push the issue. Because those guys are still on investigation, and, the FBI put a lot of man hours into this, and they're not going to just drop it, And I really think he means what he says. He is a person that sticks to his word, and I don't think he's given any ground. I mean, just look at him the other day when he invited all the media to a meeting, and then he personally chewed them out. They went there thinking that, they were going to get responses to how they could get better access to him, and he lectured them and chewed them out. So I really think he knows what he's doing. He's a clever guy. He got to where he is now because he was brilliant and is brilliant and remains brilliant.
like I said, we're playing tic-tac-toe and he's playing master chess. We're down to our last 5 minutes. Curtis, this show has gone so fast as always. Sue, I want to thank you for joining us and for your input throughout the show. I want to thank everyone that's up in the chat room, Bigfoot, Dabu, Joe that called in, Gulf Dogs, Ricky that called in, Vito, Esposito, Mamma Mia, No Sharia, my Guido. We're going to be back. Friday is going to be a recorded show. It will not be live. Matter of fact, Curtis and I are doing that recording tomorrow morning. And it's going to be a very, very special show. I don't know how many people know of Keith and Crystal Getty. And they are gospel performers. They singers, songwriters. They've got a website up called Getty Music. And a lot of you people do not even realize it, that when you're listening to the hymns in your church, their music is what you are singing and playing. I had come across a hymn one day that I found really moving, and I looked to see who wrote it and the history about it, and it turns out it's this husband and wife team. They've been doing this for years, and Keith will be joining us to talk about his new album that Crystal and he have, and they're going on tour for the Christmas holidays. So we'll be playing pieces from that as we talk to them about their music and their faith and what they're doing across America with us. So they're going to be joining us, and you'll be hearing that on Friday. And then at the end of the month, we've got Corey Claggett is going to be coming back. He's going to be talking about what he's doing with the veterans and the organization he works for. And our final guest for the month, we're going to end up with Brad Stein. Now, a lot of you know who Brad Stein is, but for those who don't, he's a comedian. And you've actually, without realizing it, heard various shows here on BTR and other stations play a lot of his little clips. And they are hysterical, and I've played his clips here in the past. And you heard one of these just the other day on this show. And so as I end the show, and I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, a safe Thanksgiving, I'll play this, and that is how we'll end today's show. So, Curtis, how does that sound to you? Sounds like an idea, a plan?
Sound like a plan. That's the key.
All right. So just a reminder, Friday will be a recorded show. I may have the chat room open on Friday, depending upon what I'm doing that afternoon, whether or not I'm pigging out on leftovers or not. But it will be the Gettys on Friday, and then next week will be Corey Claggett and Brad Stein. So I want to end this just thanking everyone that has been with us. We had great guests today. We'll continue to keep on booking them. We are actually starting to book our guests into December already, and Major David Getz is going to be with us on the 6th. And you said Mike Hill wants to join us either on the 6th or 13th, so let me know which date, and I'll pencil them in. So we're going to be rocking and rolling here, guys. We're going to keep on rocking and rolling. I'm just got to wind the clock down for like about another 25 seconds, Curtis, before I can play the clip and then end the show. So I'm just trying to think of anything and everything I can say in these last few seconds.
Well, we can always say, God bless America. I'm glad they woke up.
Oh, yeah. I am so glad America finally woke up. And what is today? Today is Tuesday? Oh, I can't remember what the heck is going on today. Today is Tuesday. All right. So we will be back here live next Tuesday, a week from today. And I want to thank again everyone that has been with us. We'll see you around the BTR dial. And until then, I would say good night and God bless and have a very 90 seconds and Merry Thanksgiving.
Has this ever happened to you? You vote for a charismatic young politician only to be disappointed by his undelivered promises of hope and change. If you're like much of the American voting public, you surely have. Has your car been marred by an unsightly blemish? Has your property value decreased due to the regretful political statements on your neighbor's car? Are you tired of being embarrassed to drive through your own neighborhood? Hi, I'm Brad Stein, and I'd like to introduce you to a brand new product that can help you cleanse your car and your life from any regretful Election Day decision. Introducing the Obama Bumper Sticker Removal Kit. How does it work? Let me show you. Simply pull your car into a garage, empty warehouse, or otherwise inconspicuous area. Use the official BS scraper to remove the old BS from your car and replace it with a brand new bumper sticker. It's just that easy. Even works on a Prius. What about your friend, neighbor, or that hippie stepbrother who bought into that Obama BS. Don't make him live in shame. Anonymously send him a BS removal kit of his very own. The BS removal kit works on BS of all kinds. Hope and change. Change you can believe in. And that so hard to get rid of Obama-Biden BS. So rid your car and your life of Obama BS
10
today.
seconds.
Only at bsremoval.com. The Obama bumper sticker removal kit does not get rid of higher taxes, mandatory health insurance, or high unemployment. Satisfaction is not guaranteed because, well, you've already proven that you don't make very good decisions.